Hello everyone, welcome to the Online Tonight Entertainment Podcast. My name is Matthew Willard. Joined with me is Ryan Taronas.
Hello.
And Nathan Dean.
Oh!
Tonight we are going to be discussing Avengers Endgame and Game of Thrones. This includes all spoilers, so if you aren't caught up with Endgame or Game of Thrones episode 4 of season 8, then tune out now. Alright, that should be enough time. So... let's talk about Avengers Endgame, guys.
What's that?
Let's talk about it.
Biggest movie in the world.
Before we jump into that, I just want to let the world know, and you guys, this is great timing, because as per Facebook, because it tracks everything you do, 7 years ago to this day, I saw Avengers, the original Avengers. What a moment, what a timely event. So, thank you.
Thank you, Facebook memories.
Thank you. Thanks for tracking everything.
I mean, so far, this movie is on track to be the biggest movie in the world. Currently sitting at $676 million domestically, which is pretty big. Overall...
which is double their budget.
Overall, though, it's at $2.3 billion.
Which is, some would say big.
It's 2 weeks out now. 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago it was released, if I'm not mistaken. So
26.
Let's talk about our thoughts. What do we think about the movie? This is the culmination of 21 movies, Marvel movies, coming together from the MCU. So why don't you kick it off, Ryan?
Well, as a guy who's followed this since Iron Man in 2008, I've seen all of them. Well, sadly, I still haven't seen Iron Man 3, which I know is not, like, an incredibly great movie, but I still feel like I need to see it just to say that I've seen them all. But following it ever since then, it's been just... it felt very nice to get that closure and just resolution that we've just been waiting for, just edging us to the end 20 or all these movies later. So it was fantastic.
Oh, I agree. But I'm very curious, though. You said you didn't see Iron Man 3. Again, we're talking all spoilers here.
All spoilers.
So, Pepper Potts in Iron Man 3 was in an Iron Man suit. Yeah. So, was that a surprise to you at the end of Endgame when she shows up in her own suit?
I knew that happened because I've seen... without watching Iron Man 3, I've basically seen it just through videos or people talking about it or breakdowns of like the whole series of movies. So I knew that happened, and also they kind of like kept alluding to it in the movie where he's making her a helmet and all this stuff. So I wasn't that surprised, but it was a nice moment. It was cool to see them back to back fighting with each other.
What about you, Nathan?
I know this is the most unpopular opinion here. I loved Avengers Endgame, and I appreciated everything they did with this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I've enjoyed the ride for all these movies leading up to the Endgame. But I just found myself liking Infinity War more, personally, only because it was so unexpected of the route they took with that movie. And then after that, I kind of expected what they were going to do with the time travel, with the characters coming back. I expected Iron Man to die. So I was just kind of... the only reason I was a tad disappointed is nothing really happened that I wasn't expecting already, other than Thor's hammer going to Captain America, which was probably my favorite part of the movie. But that was probably the only part that I felt shocked. Other than that part, and I'd probably say the beginning when they show Hawkeye and his family.
Oh, that was rough.
And like that was a rough scene where he just turns around, they're all gone. So that was a harsh reality for the beginning of the film. And I was excited to see what they were going to do. And I just personally expected a lot more characters to die than just Captain America at the beginning. Or I'm sorry, Iron Man in the movie, and then Captain America when he decided to stay in the past and become old and get to find true love.
So you're telling me you saw Fat Thor coming from a mile away?
I knew they were going. I I knew they were going to have to change some of the characters somehow. Like I expected they were going to change them, like their appearance. I didn't know what their appearances were going to be. I just had a feeling that characters' appearances were going to change. I had a feeling time travel was going to be playing a part of it, and Ant-Man was going to have a huge role in this movie. I like the whole way they had Hulk in this movie, where he just lived as Hulk naturally, and people accepted him for who he was. So that was a really cool thing. And I still love the movie, but thinking about how I felt leaving the theater for both of them, I loved this movie because it was everything I wanted and expected. But Infinity War I loved because it was something that I didn't know I wanted and I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I could say the same note for that. I loved all the Marvel movies. I've seen every single one of them, and I'm going to see Endgame for a fourth time tomorrow. So I absolutely love this movie. Yeah, I'm very dedicated. I absolutely love this movie. It's just the culmination of everything. All these movies rounding up to just this one main event. It was just spectacular in my opinion.
And one thing that I will add is
it was flawless.
The most disappointing thing I'm disappointed in myself is the two movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I have yet to see as of May 11, 2019 were Thor Ragnarok, which after seeing the beginning to Infinity War, it was already spoiled for me after I saw the movie and saw the articles online that Thor Ragnarok was pretty much nearly pointless after that. But I still haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, which I will see before Spider-Man Far From Home.
I feel like that's necessary.
But I know that one's necessary. I just never got around to it, unfortunately. But it's something that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, as I know it's very important before I see Spider-Man Far From Home come in July.
That's true. It's coming up soon. We just got our second trailer for that as well, and
just can't get enough Marvel.
Honestly, when I was coming out of the theater of Endgame, it just surpassed all expectations. I cried multiple times in that movie. Like the whole last hour was just that jaw-dropping, tears flowing through. I couldn't help myself. It was just all coming out. I was shaking. It was probably the greatest thing ever, but I came out of the movie and I was like, wow, they did it. And do I want to see more Marvel movies? I don't know. I was so satisfied after that one movie that I was just, on my path to maybe taking a little break. And then the Spider-Man trailer came out and introduced what we now know as the multiverse in the MCU. Possibly the multiverse. They could be misleading us, but that opens up a whole nother can of worms. And, Kevin Feige, whatever he has got planned, I feel like I'm going to be along the ride.
The Russo brothers are completely done with Marvel now, right?
Probably.
Maybe.
Where we sit as of May 11, 2019?
I saw an article last night from IGN stating that the Russo brothers they might come back if they introduce the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. So, there may be a possibility of that happening, but there's no confirmed sources on that.
Working on the Stan Lee documentary as well?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I would have to check into that. But,
listen, from what we got from these guys, the Russo brothers have brought us so much great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Infinity, or, not just Avengers or Marvel movies, but, classics such as You, Me, and Dupree, which I personally found was a fantastic movie back in the day. But these guys really did, compared to a lot of these early Marvel movies where some are kind of quirky, some are really weirdly serious, like Thor, where it just feels like an opera. They really brought another level of just storytelling to it, and
oh yeah, I was just gonna say it felt like Infinity War was The Empire Strikes Back, our generation of it, and this one obviously is like The Return of the Jedi, but 10 times better.
This was our Ewoks smashing stormtroopers' helmets.
Less little teddy bears. More
there are multiple
big
sources there.
Ant-Mans.
Multiple sources that are saying that the Russo brothers are developing a Stan Lee documentary after his passing.
Wait for that.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, and how many actors they're able to bring in for this documentary. So I'm
curious to see if they're going to have a cameo for Stan Lee in Spider-Man. Because didn't they state that this was going to be the last one in Endgame?
Yeah, they said I was reading that I think he filmed his scene in that in like October or November, near the end of the shooting, I believe. Or no, I think it might have been a little earlier. He died in November, so unless they were filming, I mean, they were probably filming Far From Home sometime a year ago. So
from what I heard,
but I don't.
Oh, I'm just saying. From what I heard, he filmed a bunch of stuff. Right,
Well,
like a couple years back.
He did a lot of like voice. I think he went to some recording studio and like all these like VO lines of just like him saying, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, all these different things. And I'm not sure. I mean, they might have got his face. He might have told him, "Hey, put CGI me and put me in every movie if I'm dead." I don't know. But we'll see in this movie.
He seems like that kind of guy, though. He seems like he wants to
He'll
continue his legacy even after death.
He loves the technology.
He loves it. It's amazing. What an amazing person.
Did you ever meet him at one of the conventions that we went to, Matt?
Well, he was at MegaCon.
Yeah, he was at MegaCon like every year.
Back. He was.
I feel like he was there every year.
He was at MegaCon. I didn't get to meet him. Did I see him from afar? I felt like I did.
I personally did see him, like, when I say from afar, as in, like, I was in the booth that was next to his line.
No.
So I saw I could see him from where he was sitting, but, I mean, his line, that was hours and hours of people just standing there, which I totally understand. But, never personally met him, but I did see him from afar.
I had none of those experiences. I just saw him on pictures. So thank you.
Pictures are worth 1,000 words. But back to Endgame, I just want to get, maybe ranking the movies a little bit here. Where would you rank this? I'm assuming it's going to be all in our top 5, maybe? That's my assumption. So I'm curious to see.
Movies?
Yeah, of Marvel movies.
Oh, okay. I was saying, like, films of all time.
No, just of Marvel movies for this one. But I'm curious to see where y'all would put this. Just think of a couple, the couple of movies that you like.
I'm going to look through. Let's see.
Because for my list, I can come off the top of my head and say Endgame is number 1 for me. I believe number 2 is going to be Infinity War. Number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Number 4 is Ragnarok. And number 5, Black Panther. That's my top 5 I can just come up with right now.
I'd probably go with the same list as yours. I would just maybe flip. I'd probably put Ragnarok higher than. I don't know. I want to say I want to put it higher than Guardians, but I don't know if I do want to put it higher than Guardians because I love.
That was special. Guardians was a special movie.
That's what led me to just be like, okay, that was the moment where I'm like, you can make another Howard the Duck movie and I will see it without a question. I will pay for the $16 Dolby Theater to see it. I don't care.
For me personally, did you have your list? Your list all good?
That's basically Matt's.
Yeah. For me, Infinity War is easily number 1, just of overall experiences that I can remember from all these movies. So Infinity War for me probably number 1. I would put Endgame as number 2, still near the top because I still love the movie. Trying to think of the movie. I would probably put. I really liked Black Panther a lot, so I'd probably put 3. Probably put that at number 3. I'd actually move Black Panther down to 4 because I just thought I would put Captain America: Civil War at 3.
Oh, that was great. Oh, how did I forget that
Civil
one?
War, I almost forgot about that one. Civil War, I'd put at 3. Black Panther, I'd put at 4, and I'd probably put Guardians of the Galaxy number 5.
But wait till you see Ragnarok.
Oh, I can't believe you haven't seen Ragnarok yet.
But I also haven't seen Spider-Man: Homecoming, as I said earlier in the show. So I'd probably, there's a very good chance that would be in the top 5 instead of Guardians of the Galaxy. But again, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those movies that I had no expectations. I didn't know what to expect, and I loved every second of it more than I thought I would. So
it was great they went back to it in Endgame. I thought the whole time travel with Endgame was pretty well done. Obviously, there's some questions people have with it, and I tried solving them myself, but I'm just over it now. I'm just like, whatever. They're just introducing the multiverse, so I'm fine. It was a movie, and
I think it did a fine job. I mean, it's just like when it comes to time travel in any scenario at all. You just gotta once you start looking deep enough, it's just not going to make sense. Like any theory of time travel, because it's not real.
yeah,
At least at the
can't
moment,
time
it's not
travel.
real. It's just there's no way you can just it's just going to work. So at some point there's got to be some flaw in it. So
But it's definitely in the top 5 of all of the 22 MCU movies. So
it's great.
We gotta get you watching Ragnarok and Homecoming here soon,
Yes.
so we can talk about Spider-Man when that comes out. But that was a good little review roundup. Let's move on to Game of Thrones Season 8.
Copyright.
Episode 4 just came out last Sunday, and as of recording, Episode 5 is coming out tomorrow.
This is Saturday, May 11th.
Yes.
Well, people didn't know.
So Game of Thrones, this is the final season. 2 more episodes left. There's going to be 2 episodes, right? Yeah, they're ending off with episode 6. And
Yes.
I will say, honestly, one of my least favorite seasons so far. I don't think, as of right now, they're handling... The writing in the show just seems very... not Game of Thrones-esque from what I'm seeing from it. It's just doing, I think, a poor job of rounding up all these characters and all these arcs and all these different events that are going on. It's just, I'm not leaving each episode very impressed. I thought episode 4 was pretty alright. I did not like episode 3. But I think we all have kind of varying opinions on these episodes here, so...
yeah, we're all. This is a spoiler. We're talking about spoilers for this
Yes.
too, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, that's my views on this
A lot of
current
conviction
season.
in Game of Thrones. Me personally, I haven't had many complaints with it. I get the issues that people have. It's just they're not affecting me as much. Like, I get the issues people have with episode 3, The Long Night, with the big battle. People, the White Walkers being killed off easily and all that stuff. I get the issue, but to me that just doesn't affect me. It just doesn't hit me as much, I guess. I don't know. I never really looked at them as like a compelling characters in the show. Like they didn't affect me emotionally, whereas, the actual human battles that happen are more interesting to me. So that was my personal not so mad about it. But yeah, I can definitely you can definitely tell in the show where they've diverted. I mean, not that I've read the books. I don't think any of us have read all the books or anything.
I've listened to the first one.
You can, from what people are saying, you can tell that where it's gone off on their own compared to following some semblance of a structure that was given to them beforehand.
Would you say since season 6?
I thought they said after season 4, there's been a lot of, since season 5 started, I think they said has been a lot of just on their own, not so much from the books.
Oh, let's talk to Nathan here. I think he's the one who watched Game of Thrones the most recently, so he can probably recall when they might have veered off from the books, because the last part of the last book was, from what I heard, Jon dying. So that was... Do you remember what season that was, Nathan?
That was the end of season 6.
That was the end of season 6? I thought...
Season 5.
Season 5.
Okay.
6 was when, the Battle of the Bastards and everything.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, yeah, that's right. So end of season 5 then.
Okay.
For the watch.
For the watch.
Ollie.
Fucking Ollie.
Screw Ollie, bro.
He's gone. It's fine. So what are your thoughts, Nathan? How you feeling?
So for the listeners that are not aware, I did not watch anything after season 1 of Game of Thrones as of the end of April, and 2 weeks later I'm all caught up. I spent a week and a half watching every single episode. So for me, it was kind of instead of waiting years for new seasons, and I watched binged the entire show in a week and a half, and I'm all caught up to be watching the final episodes of the series. And I've surprised to see some of the responses from some of these episodes, because as Ryan said, when it came to the big fight in Season 8 with the White Walkers, I understand the problems that a lot of people had with it, and how, I mean, it was hyped up as the most threatening enemy in the entire world of Game of Thrones since Season 1, Episode 1, the very first scene of the show. I had some problems with it that did bother me, and then some problems with it that just didn't bother me as much. For example, there's no way in hell that Brianna Tarth should have been alive. Not a chance.
Or Sam.
Because she was, and I'll get to Sam. So she was completely just on the ground, covered in dead army, just the dead army or whatever, and all these White Walkers, and they just were all over her, and then just Jaime saved her again, and she just lived, and that scene bothered me. Another scene that bothered me was our friend Trey, who will be on a show in the future. Trey mentioned that it just felt like there was 15 to 20 minutes of Jon Snow and Daenerys just flying around lost. And it looked like it almost appeared as they were the same scene over and over again. Mm-hmm. So they would show the scenes of the actual fight, and then they would show them still being lost. And that part just kind of got repetitive, and I just felt that was unnecessary. Samuel Tarly has been one of my favorite characters in the entire show, but damn, there's so many times he should have been dead.
He was on the ground the whole episode.
And this one, he should have died. And then I told you guys
he was standing at the beginning.
When I was binging the show and catching up, and you guys were just laughing at my responses to every single episode that I was getting caught up on, he should have been dead at the end of season 2, if we're going to be real about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was the first. He was technically the first one that was kind of the main characters that we were following to see the White Walker, and it was just staring right at him, and thousands of White Walkers were marching towards the wall, and then I was like amazed because I couldn't imagine what they were going to do to start with season 3, and I thought that's when they were going to start fighting the White Walkers, and they just kind of threw that under the rug. And then the beginning of season 3, it's just Samuel Tarly running away from one of them, and then some of the guys from the Night Watch save him. So it's just like I had a big problem with that. He was surrounded by thousands of them, and then they just totally ignored it, and for some reason they were no longer at the wall, unless I missed something there, because that part just was disappointing for me. But as of recently, with season 8, it so far has not been one of my favorite seasons. I'm hoping that these last 2 episodes will make up for that a little bit. In our friend group that we've had, a lot of you guys did not seem to like season 7 all that much either.
I didn't. I liked it. I mean, I didn't have many issues.
I was very surprised by that, because season 7 was probably one of my favorite seasons, simply because not a single episode watching it did I ever expect one of the dragons to die, because they just felt so impossible to defeat just watching them season after season. And then when one of the dragons was finally defeated, the dragon joining the White Walkers was one of the craziest scenes for me. That was probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire series. So now that's why I had a huge problem with season 8, episode 4, is that these dragons were able to fight off. And I understand what we were talking about earlier, is like, I get that, this was such a powerful weapon they were able to kill one of the dragons with, but they just fought, as you said, the most dangerous enemy in the series with the White Walkers, with a White Walker dragon, and they were able to survive that, and then they were just kind of casually riding through the sea, and it just got shot and died, and it was just kind of very anticlimactic for me. And then rest in peace to Missandei. But yeah, I mean, I just, a lot of things that I wasn't expecting, and kind of some of them were anticlimactic and leave a lot of question marks. But overall, it's still my favorite show on TV, and I really hope that these last 2 episodes will carry it to the top forever. So,
well, I mean, the creators, or the current creators of this last season, DB and David, mentioned in the after, like the post Game of Thrones episode stuff, BTS, I mean, she forgot about the fleet. You know? It was just like, how could she just forget about that big
just
thing?
Seems like a weird thing. It feels like they forgot the fleet.
Exactly. It seemed like a writing issue.
They forgot about the Starbucks stuff just sitting there.
That was. I think that was product placement.
It wasn't actually a Starbucks cup.
Are you sure?
They said it's just a cup that they all have on set. Like it's just a generic cup. It's no relations to Starbucks. They've confirmed that it's actually not Starbucks, but Starbucks has gotten so much publicity out of this, so good for Starbucks.
Yeah, so I mean that's the whole thing though. It's just it seems like this last season's being very rushed. They're not thinking everything through. Maybe they should have made 2 seasons out of this and made it a little bit longer, expanded it a little bit more. But even when I think about that way, if they're going to write it the same, then what's the point? You know?
See, my thing is like
it's amazing to hear that you say that it's rushed because they had 2 years to put this together.
And that's what when you mentioned earlier when people were disappointed with season 7, it did feel a little rushed because characters were going from place to place, A to B, and not even an episode long time span. When in other episodes it took them whole seasons to get somewhere. You know,
this is my thing with any TV show. I mean, just any form of media at all. People are always going to get different things out of it. They're always going to have different opinions, obviously. So, you know, for me, the speed at which, like, the last season, how quickly they got places, that didn't bother me, because why should I sit around for a filler episode of someone traveling when they can get somewhere? Personally, that doesn't bother me. So, you know, it's hard for any show, to have a really good ending. I don't think it happens all the time.
It definitely doesn't.
Because there's a lot of TV shows that are great, and it's so hard to nail that ending. Because, I mean, look at The Walking Dead. It's not over because they don't know how to end that show. They should have ended it like 3 seasons ago at least.
Should have ended it.
They're
7
just
seasons
going.
ago.
The season that I think
we stopped
Glenn,
watching because it just kept going, and it just lost its focus.
The season that Glenn died probably should have been the season that they finish it off on, because it just felt like the series was dying off at that point.
Right.
But back to the Game of Thrones, I think another thing that, as you guys were talking, I remembered a major scene that bothered me was, I get Cersei's crazy. I get that's what her character is. But they spent 20 to 25 minutes of the episode to the beginning. Was this season 8, episode 2? When they're all like talking together and trying to come together to fight the White Walkers. So I believe this was episode 2.
And season 7?
Was this of season 8? Before they're trying to prepare to fight the White Walkers and come together and put their differences aside.
Episode 2 was the big everyone coming together and talking.
Yeah. Okay. So it just bothered me that they spent so much time on like, okay, Cersei, here's the proof. This is what a White Walker looks like. They kill the White Walker.
Oh, you're talking about season 7.
So she just kind of says she's not going to do it, and then she storms off. And then Tyrion's like, let me go talk to her. Tyrion goes talk to her. There's that big scene of them shouting at each other as siblings and all of that whole shebang. And just then he comes back and she comes back. She's like, okay, I'll do it. And then like moments later, she's like, I was never serious. It was like, that was just so awkward. And it just felt like there was these chances for the show to take a huge turn. And then they just kind of pulled back a little bit again, just to keep her character unpredictable and just a very crazy character ruling King's Landing. And after everything she's gone through and all the incest going on, I understand she's just crazy. But that's one of the parts that I felt like there were tons of opportunities that they could have taken a huge turn, and then they just kind of pull it back a little bit because now she's using... what is it? The uncle,
Aaron.
Yeah. So I mean, that whole relationship just doesn't feel real. It's just that part was just, that's where it feels all messy.
That's the thing, though. I mean, in season 7, what happened with them talking to each other? What kind of deal? What kind of agreement did they come to? To where now in season 8, they had every opportunity in this last episode. Cersei was on a wall with all of her people, all the arrow, like just everything, the ballistas, all of that. While Daenerys is with like 10 guys down on the ground. Why didn't she just kill them all? What was the point of that? You know, it was just oddly written to me because
For me, like, yeah.
she sent Bronn to go kill Tyrion and Jaime, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when she had the opportunity to kill Tyrion right then and there, why didn't she do it?
I feel like that's the part where she just keeps remembering that they're her brothers. Because there's been multiple scenes that Tyrion has said, "Do it," and then she can't do it.
Exactly. But the whole show, she has hated her brother, especially Tyrion. But I think that's what it's showing is that through everything that she hates about him, she still has some part of her that she can't kill him because she loves him for him being secretly deep down somewhere still has partial love for him for being her brother.
Like that's where I go back to my point about people get different things out of the show. Like when Nathan, you said you felt like kind of it was anticlimactic when they killed the dragon, whichever one, Rhaegal,
the green one.
Yeah. For me, when I was at least in the moment of watching it, I saw it as like, oh, this the Iron Company is not here to they're not playing around, ma'am. Yeah. They're here to they got big boy weapons. But I just personally try not to, when you deconstruct, look so deep into things and ask 1,000 questions on every little, thing, like, oh, why didn't she see them when she was up in the air? Why didn't the boat see them? I get the point. I just personally don't.
But we're just supposed to accept that they're more powerful and more dangerous than the White Walkers were hyped up to be for years. Like they just kind of came out of nowhere.
That's the thing. They showed
showed up and kills.
I feel like
they showed that weapon back in what, season 7 or
no? It's not just the weapon. I'm just talking about them in general. Like whatever. What are they? What is their group called?
Iron Company. Iron Fleet.
Iron. Yeah. We're just supposed to accept that they're already more powerful than anything that the White Walkers have been.
I would have accepted
season after season.
I would have accepted if maybe it was 1 or 2 ships that were around the corner. If they were getting hidden by the mountain and they shot a couple arrows of the dragon and took it down that way. But it's just I can't suspend my disbelief like that much to where there's a whole fleet of ships.
I get it.
That they just didn't see, and then immediately within the next shot, you see their fleet looking at the opposite fleet and seeing all of them.
And whatever strategy, whoever in the fight with the White Walkers said that we should start the war by sending all of the Dothraki to charge at him, that was just a terrible idea.
There's a lot of, I think, there was a whole Reddit thread I saw that people talking about battle tactics in the episode 3 and how terrible they were made, but I didn't want to get into all that just because that's something you mentioned, Ryan, that I'm not that interested in doing that.
That's the thing where even when you look back at back to Infinity War for a second, because while they got so close to taking that gauntlet off in that movie, and they did almost everything right, but they still failed. So it shows it's kind of this is a little different in the way where it's a bad, poorly strategized battle here, where they completely just wasted the Dothraki. John's for some reason just sitting on the wall doing nothing on the castle. I don't know what that whole part was, but it still just shows that I guess it was the writer's way of getting them to fail. Except they got saved in the end.
Yeah, so it's just
I'm not saying the writing's great. I'm not. This is definitely not my favorite season by any means. No. But it's not. To me, I'm not put off by the show.
Just how I'm curious of what our predictions are here. I guess, Matt, I want to hear yours first. How do you think they're going to end this show? Because we talked about how hard it is to end a show the right way, and we see shows that like Walking Dead that just don't know how to end it.
Yeah, but then you see shows like Breaking Bad, which is now, I think, even at this point, if they don't, just the track that they're on, Breaking Bad's probably going to be my favorite TV show of all time, just because it doesn't seem like they know how to end this show, or like the right way of going about it. Because these,
but in the
past few
situation
episodes,
that they're in right now, how would the show end?
I would say if I had to make a bet, Cersei's gonna die, Daenerys is gonna die, Jon's gonna take the Iron Throne, and Sansa's gonna be the Maiden of Winterfell. And Bronn's going to get Highgarden. Tyrion's going to be the Hand. And Jaime's going to die as well. Cersei's probably going to... My whole prediction, my whole thing behind this, I think that Jaime is going back now. I think Cersei's going to kill him. Arya's going to take his face and kill Cersei. So that solves both predicaments of Arya wanting to kill Cersei and having the face of Jaime fulfills the destiny of Cersei being killed by her younger brother. So, to me, that makes sense.
So you basically see it as the Starks are just going to take over everything.
Pretty much. I could see it that way. I mean, they have their alliances now. They have the people and some... pretty much all the houses right now are either aligned with the Starks or just kind of neutral, it seems. Mm-hmm. The only army fighting for Cersei is the Golden Company and Euron's fleet. That's all she has.
Which I could totally see that actually happening after Ned Stark dies at the end of season 1, and then obviously the Red Wedding, and just things kind of seem like the Starks are just absolutely screwed. Mm-hmm. But I could see them ending the show as they came out on top after everything that they went through.
I think that would be a fitting ending. Do I think they're going to do that? I don't think so. But it's obviously it's up to them on how they're ending the show because, they collaborated with George, but that doesn't mean that George is going to write that. He could change his mind. But
from what I've heard, like everything since they've gone on past his writing, he's still like collaborated and like had say in the show. But I've also read that his ending is going to be different. Or like certain characters that they've killed off in the show already are still important in his books, apparently. So it's all going to be... there's going to be a lot of differences, obviously.
It sounds like they both want to make money.
I like money.
It's not because the show's going to end some way, but then he's going to be like, well, I'm still going to make a different name,
and then everyone's
going to my book.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you see...
It's a win-win.
How do you see the show ending, Ryan?
All right, here it comes. You ready? So, Jaime's going to get to... the King's Landing. He's gonna look at Cersei. They're gonna like kiss again. She's gonna stab him. He's like, "Oh my god, I thought we loved each other." I can't tell if he's going back because he loves her or
it was hard
he
to
wants
tell.
To kill her. I feel like he wants to kill her.
I think so.
I think he still loves her, but he knows that he has to kill her.
Yes.
So I think she's gonna stab him, and he's gonna stab her, and they're gonna have like this like Romeo and Juliet death, just like sitting next to each other.
Except it's incest.
I see that, or they've always said like your younger brother's going to kill you, so maybe Tyrion could be is Tyrion younger than her?
Tyrion's the youngest.
Is the youngest because he's the one that killed
Tyrion
her.
Could be it too. That'd be unexpected. Tyrion coming in.
What if Tyrion kills all of them? Like every single person in the Lannister family, Tyrion
and
kills.
Jon Snow.
He turns out to be a Targaryen.
He's the Night King.
Don't even get me started on.
From
Bran.
what I don't mind, dude. Yeah, that's another thing I learned. Apparently, in the books, the Night King's not actually like a defined character.
Yeah, he's not a prominent figure in the books.
No, he's not a character at all. He's like a talked about like. There is a king, a knight. There's a Night's King. There's not like. This is the Night King. It's like there's a thing that might be a Night King. Like it's not like a character.
Yeah,
well, I think that's what they kind of relayed in the show. That's believed that some of them did.
Whereas in the show, it's like this is the Night King. Here he is.
Right, but I'm saying in the show they kind of use that a little bit because some of the characters don't believe he exists.
Right. But I see. I could see a cycle repeating where either Jon's on the throne or I could see Daenerys take the throne, like actually win in the end. But she's gone mad. It's like no going back mad, and she becomes the Mad Queen, just like her dad or grandpa or whatever. That was the Mad King.
Yeah, her dad.
And the cycle repeats. I can see Bran going to the north and becoming a Night King again. Maybe he gets stabbed by some little kids or whatever and becomes a new Night King. I can see a lot of things happening. I personally, I can just see like it ending where it's basically just like the cycle's going to keep repeating. That's what I see.
I could see that as well.
I don't see a happy ending.
But the thing is, we have 2 episodes left, so it's going to be. I think it's going to be really hard to wrap it up the way they're going.
I'm still not set in stone that we're just supposed to ignore the fact that Arya killed the girl when she was in training for the many-face god to become no one, and that he's just not going to show up ever again. Because I really feel like this faceless man, like Jaqen, like I feel like he's just something. My biggest gut feeling is either they're just going to forget about him, or something major is going to happen with him in these last 2 episodes. Like somebody else in this show is aware of how to become no one, not just Arya.
You ready for who it is? Littlefinger. Boom.
He's back.
Or it could be if we're gonna make a bold prediction of who knows how to be no one. I'm gonna take a swing and say it's Lord Varys, since he's such a big spy in the show, and I still don't know how much I trust him, and I feel like he might be one of the characters to die in the last episode. But I think after what we saw at the end of season 8, episode 4. Daenerys, I don't think she's going to listen to anybody, and I think she's just going to do anything that she wants. And I think because she's losing everyone that she loves. So I think that she's losing all hope of sitting on the Iron Throne, and she's losing a lot of people. So I don't think she cares. And like John said, she's going to become what she hated the most, just to end everything. Which it might end up causing her to die too. But I think the dragon's I think King's Landing is going to get set on fire. And I don't know what's going to happen after that, but my bold predictions have been the dragon's going to start burning stuff in King's Landing, and a lot of innocent people are going to die, and people like Tyrion and Jon Snow, they're going to be torn to they're going to be like a rock and a hard place. They're going to have to either help Cersei, or they're going to have to help Daenerys when she's going insane. And then somebody else has the same training as Arya this whole time.
That's a lot to wrap up there, Nathan Dean.
That's what I would do. If you want some crazy things, but their writing's been very questionable. But I think both of those things make sense. But that's just me.
And I really think the writing comes down to just they don't have just a strong, support.
They don't have a baseline anymore.
Right.
Because I think about
from what I'm looking, it's the exact same writers from every season. It's not like they're like new people they brought in. It's the same people. It's just
they don't have anything to go off of.
But that
they don't have the lore.
That feeling of just absolute shock of when John was killed, and obviously when he was brought back to life. But that scene that everybody is just stuck with. If you could end episode 5 with King's Landing on fire and just all these innocent people dying, or somebody like Lord Varys just being the many-faced god the whole time, that would be just
From what I've heard, from I think Amelia Clark was on Jimmy Kimmel or something, said episode 5 is supposed to be like, she kept saying it's gonna be huge, this and that. She didn't say. I don't know if she said it's gonna be like a big battle, but she said it's just gonna be a huge episode. So we'll see if she's not just trying to get people to watch it.
Because they mentioned that Lord Varys, I've always caught on to that, is that he has so many connections, but doesn't say who they are, doesn't say how he gets his way all the time, and how he sways people. But I think you could really make it to where it does make sense if he has the same training as Arya does.
I say we'll see when we see. But we got to get it wrapped up here soon. So I wanted to do one last segment of what everyone's been watching and what you recommend. So I'll start. I have been watching a lot of YouTube recently, and there's a good documentary out right now.
That's bold.
It's called Raising Kratos. It's free. Anyone can watch it. And if you are into video games and you like documentaries, this is one of the best documentaries I've seen. It's 2 hours long. It's well worth your time. It dives into how God of War was made. And it not only shows how the game was made, but how it affects everyone's life making it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys have any recommendations before we wrap up this episode.
Ron, I'll let you go first. If you
I haven't really been watching. I mean, I don't watch television typically. I'm more of a movie guy. I watched The Godfather today. If you haven't seen The Godfather, that's one of the greatest films ever. We're probably gonna go see Detective Pikachu tonight, so I'll let you know in the future if that's a good movie. I hear it's fine. I hear it's fun.
I've heard that if you love Pokemon, you'll love the movie.
Right.
Which I do
excited.
love Pokemon.
Yeah.
I haven't been huge on Pokemon because I just
You
never.
do love that mime scene.
Yeah, you love the mime.
I love characters. I love that mime scene of him falling off the fake motorcycle.
That
but,
sold you.
we will see possibly tonight. So yeah, just go watch movies. Go watch all types of movies.
I personally can't say I've watched anything because I spent the last week and a half catching up to Game of Thrones, so that was probably all I've. After I did that, I was just taking a break of watching so much TV. So really, not really anything. After I watched all the way of Game of Thrones, I just kind of took a break and let me just watch these last 2 episodes when they come on.
Dude, tell them to watch sports.
You can also check out our sports podcast coming up here soon with Online Tonight, but we got some things to talk about there, but that's pretty much all I've been watching.
All right.
Sports.
Well, this was a good first podcast, I think. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and if you have anything you want to add or anything you want to try to discuss with us, just leave a comment, or I guess we're going to try to create an email here soon, and you can maybe email us, and I'll post that in the description. But thank you guys for listening.
Bye-bye!
Out.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Enjoy.